Well, Razorback fans, it's amazing how this season has gone, right? Well, amazing and maybe all the wrong reasons. But what defines success at this point in time for this Razorback basketball team? Is it simply just making the NCAA tournament? Well, let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday as we're getting closer to Arkansas and LSU. We'll do a little previewing of that tomorrow, but we're also going to get into some things. I think it's fun to talk about Big Z because I know a lot of you have been asking about Big Z, especially with this big game that he had against Alabama. Some things about him and what he can do from here, and also a really cool little thing on Vice about John Calipari and his journey from Kentucky to Arkansas. So, we'll talk about that a little bit. That premiered last night, by the way. But you heard it in the open, and it's something that's kind of been on my mind lately with Arkansas and I wouldn't even call it a resurgence because they're still 3-9, or not 3-9. Geez, if they're 3-9, they'd be in bad shape. 3-7 in conference play. And I think everybody understands that they are playing better. Even the game against Alabama, that was I firmly believe if they would have played that game 2 weeks prior, Arkansas probably loses it by at least 20 points. So they are getting better. They are, getting it back into the mix. And by almost everybody's own volition, and also the people who have been talking about the NCAA tournament and everything like that, just looking at it all in general, it's really incredible to see that Arkansas has worked itself back into the NCAA tournament talk. If you listen to Inside Arkansas Live, Curtis Wilkerson pointed this out, which was obviously a great little get there, is that he had Arkansas with looking at 90 different NCAA tournament bracketologists, or however you want to look at it. Of looking at all of them, it had Arkansas before the Alabama game and only about 10 of them, 10 of the 90 that showed that Arkansas would be an NCAA tournament team. And then on the other side of it, from Arkansas's game against Alabama, which they lost, now they're in over half of them. If you look at the field of 68, if you look at Joe Lunardi, if you look at all the bracketologists right at this point in time, where it stands now, almost everybody, not everybody, almost everybody has Arkansas in the NCAA tournament. It's not a lock. In fact, I saw somebody had Arkansas as an 11 seed in the play-in game up in Dayton, which I was pumped by because I think it'd be so fun to just go and up to Dayton and see a play-in game for Arkansas playing it, because it's just a tough thing to get into. But some of you probably don't care about that, probably don't want that. But the point is, you're back in the mix. Whether you get there or not, we'll find out, but you're back in the mix. And it's amazing where, as the season goes on, the expectations that continually change. Before the season started, I think myself, as well as many of you, rightfully so, felt like Arkansas was not only a surefire team to get into the NCAA tournament, but it could be a surefire team to make some noise doing it. Maybe even get into the SEC and really get crazy with it. I mean, there was that type of expectation and excitement surrounding it. And then we found out pretty quickly that, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. And it got to the point, really, where I, myself on the podcast, talked about Arkansas not even making the NCAA tournament, how they're not a tournament team right now. And so, that was a really crazy thing to think about just a couple weeks ago. Because I felt that way. I felt that the way that they were playing, the way that they were looking, is sitting at 1-6 in conference play. I mean, sheesh, how do you realistically look at that and say, this team's an NCAA tournament team? You can't do it. You can't do it. But here they are, back in the mix. So, knowing this roller coaster that we've been on with the Razorback basketball team, the question becomes so what is success for this team right now where it stands? Not where it was preseason, not where it was 2 weeks ago. Where does it stand right now? Where does it stand? To me, getting to the NCAA tournament, if Arkansas found a way, given the circumstances right now, is a success. Because you look dead in the water. You looked like a team that just could not figure it out, could not get it together. It was not fun to watch. There wasn't much redeeming quality to it. It was just awful. It was so bad that I felt like getting to the NCAA tournament was going to take an act of God because of how tough your schedule was and how it just didn't go well for you in most cases. Losing to bad teams, losing that game to Oklahoma at home, losing to LSU on the road. There was just no way, shape, or form it was happening. And obviously that shifts over time. And now I'm at the point where, man, if this team makes the NCAA tournament, which is a very realistic possibility, that's successful. But is that it? Like right now, let me ask you this, folks. And I'm probably going to talk about this on Inside Arkansas Live tomorrow too. But if I were to tell you right now at this current point, that Arkansas gets into the NCAA tournament but loses in the first round, are you signing up for that right now? Are you going to consider that a win? Are you going to consider that a success? Truly. Again, I'm not talking about your preseason expectation. I'm talking about right now. Would you sign up for that? I think a lot of you would. And I wouldn't blame you for it because, again, it seemed like it was such a far and away thing. But now it's changed a little bit where a lot of you are like, man, just get to the tournament. Even if they lose in the first round, just to at least salvage the season that was, it would make it in such a better position. But we all know that too changes. Because let me put it to you like this. If Arkansas continues to play the way that they're playing and continues to improve and continues to, go out and perform really well against high-quality teams, I think going on the road to Auburn is a tough task. I don't think that I'm going to predict them to win that. But say if they were able to get a big win, like going on the road to Texas A&M and winning. Texas A&M is a top 10 team right now. It actually happened Saturday. If they were able to do that, on top of beating LSU, of course, and then maybe beating Missouri at home and Mississippi State at home. Like Arkansas just wins the rest of their home games. How about that? Let's just say that. Wins the rest of their home games. Steals one against A&M on the road. Takes care of business against South Carolina and maybe even Vanderbilt. Essentially, I guess that makes them winning the rest of their games except for one at Auburn. But seriously, though, let's just play that game. If that happens, and Arkansas goes the rest of the way, if their only loss the rest of the way, because, they have Texas at home too. If their only loss the rest of the way was to Auburn on the road, that would give Arkansas 8 losses. That would give them 10 wins in SEC play. 10-8. Okay? That would get them at 21-10. Okay? Not only are they in the NCAA tournament with that record, they are probably a 6-7 seed, maybe, at that point. A higher seed than their opponent that they would end up playing. And if Arkansas was to do that, you're going to sit there with a straight face and tell me that you would just take a first-round loss? That you would just be okay getting into the NCAA tournament, and that's it? Hey, we're just happy to be here. If they did that the rest of the way? No, you wouldn't. Neither would I. And that's the point I'm trying to make, folks. Getting to the NCAA tournament is a great thing and an important thing. And it's something that, again, a lot of us didn't think, I didn't think that was possible just a couple weeks ago. But if you ask me about getting to the tournament and losing in the first round right now, would I sign up for that? The answer is no. I wouldn't. Now, I'd rather go to the NCAA tournament than not. That's not my point. I'm saying that getting to the tournament, all bets are off. It's hard to win games there. We all know that. But if Arkansas was getting into the NCAA tournament, I still believe that they are a good enough team, a talented enough team, to beat just about anybody. Not everybody, just about everybody. And if they continue to get better and they continue to develop and they continue to play their best basketball at this point, why not? Why not believe that this team can do what we all felt they could preseason? I know I'm looking way ahead here, but hey, it's fun to talk about it. What if Arkansas made the Sweet 16? That was my expectation, really, before the season started. It's like, hey, make the second weekend of the tournament, and everything above that is icing on the cake. What if they did that? Or even what if they got in as an 11 seed? What if they were one of those play-in games where they went with 6 or 7 wins in the SEC? Didn't look great. Had some weird losses and whatnot. But they just fell backwards into the tournament and they went to the Sweet 16 as an 11 seed. It's possible. How would you view the season? Would you remember or care the fact that Arkansas looked so terrible to start SEC play? Would you care that they lost to LSU on the road? Would you care that they lost that game to Oklahoma at home? No, you wouldn't. Because I wouldn't. Nobody would. It only matters what you do in March. It only matters what you do in the NCAA tournament. That, my friends, is what defines success in college basketball. Again, they got a lot of games from them. They got a lot of work to do. But the point of this whole segment, because we know we're going to move on, but the point of this whole segment is to remind everybody that expectations change throughout years, throughout seasons, throughout weeks, games. It changes. We all had a thing in the preseason of what we thought the team would be, and they're not. They haven't been. So our expectations had to change. And now we have different expectations, and that's okay. No one should be held to the standard of what a preseason prediction or expectation comes through. It's about the ending result. If I felt like Arkansas was going to win 30 games this past year in the preseason, they ain't doing that. But if they make the Sweet 16 after winning 21 games, I'm still going to be right. Because that's all that matters. What you do in March. That's my expectation for success. What you do in March. Simple as that. We're talking about Big Z. He's fun to talk about. We'll get to that and more. Staying here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I am here to tell you about our friends over at Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC, and I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine, which Lord knows it needs it a lot. So whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I know that I'm always looking for furniture because, I don't exactly have a place that's set up for large furniture pieces. I do have my recliner. It's really nice. But looking to get into some couches and some, things that if I hosted people at my place, they could come to and actually hang out. But that's what's great about Wayfair. It's free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site is so easy to navigate, made it easy to find exactly what I was looking for and what you'd be looking for in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget, and Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space, and you can find out what your decor style is. How did your item look in your home? All those things, they're going to help you out. So give your home a refresh that it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I want to talk about Big Z, Zvonimir Visic. That may be the one time in my life I've pronounced his name right. Now, I don't even know if I did. It sounded good. Just one of those things, man. He was a guy that I was excited about for many reasons. Obviously, there's always an angle, and people don't be stupid and take this the wrong way. Like, there's always an angle when you have somebody from outside the United States playing on your team. And it doesn't matter the sport. Football, basketball, baseball. There's something unique about that and something that's really cool about it. But when you throw in also that he's 7'2" and had all of the expectations that came along with it, and people expect him to do good things and shooting really good from the 3-point line and everything, it's like, all right, well, let's see how he does. Let's see how it goes. Well, just like this basketball team, man, oh man, when he got into SEC play, it was rough. It was rough. I went back and looked at his stats. He started off pretty strong, but it was against the good teams. I mean, shocking that he really struggled the most. Against Baylor, he had 2 points. Illinois, he had 13. He was a little bit motivated there because of his brother, but that was nice. But Miami, he only had 11 points. Michigan, he had 3. Then he had 8 points against North Carolina A&T, and then he played less than 10 minutes in most of these SEC games to start the year. I know he's dealing with injury and whatnot, but you're talking about Tennessee, 9 minutes, Ole Miss, 4 minutes, Florida, 6 minutes, LSU, 7 minutes. Just not good. Not playing. Now, against Missouri on the road, he finally played a lot. He played 30 minutes in the game, and it started getting to the point to where he kind of had to for depth reasons. Settled in a little bit, had 14 points there. Georgia, the game that Arkansas won, he had only 7 points in that one, but he did play 21 minutes. Then 27 minutes against Oklahoma. Kentucky, he played 25 minutes at 14 points. Texas, he had only 9 points, but played 35 minutes. His highest total of the year. And then against Alabama, where, man, I mean, you talk about a performance now. 27 points in 31 minutes. Like, I just want to read the stat line for him real quick for the Bama game. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 block shots, 2 assists. Hit 5 of 9 from 3. Incredible numbers for him. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, well, John, that was just the one game that he did that. And you're right. Yeah, I mean, that was his best game of the year. No questions asked. Something about Alabama that he loves playing against. But I was sitting there at Bud Walton Arena for that Alabama game. And when Arkansas was kind of struggling offensively and going through their drought, it was amazing to hear people around me just saying, hey, let just give it to Z. Give it to C. Let Z shoot. Let Z shoot. Let Z shoot. I was like, man, I mean, they're right because I was feeling the same way, but amazing how that just turns around and how it gets going. Nelly Davis is a guy who obviously they rely on a lot, and I feel like he's starting to come around. He's not perfect, but he's definitely playing better than what he was. But I'm getting to the point, man, with Z. He's just got such a unique skill set that's hard to guard, that's hard to shut down. And how he does it and in the manner he does it is just always so fun. I mean, you got a guy that's 7'2" that can actually hit threes. I mean, that's not like, oh, well, he can kind of sometimes hit threes. Or if he's wide open, he can hit threes. No, the dude can hit threes. He's shooting 44%, folks. 44% from three-point land. It's just such a game changer because you can't, how do you guard that? Even if you got a post player out there. I mean, Grant Nelson had no answer for him. Him or Adu Thiero. But, Grant Nelson's a tall dude, but what do you do? So I'm going to be curious. Hopefully he, just like all the other players, can continue to gain their confidence and continue to feel good about shooting the ball. And, offense, because, if you're talking about him, when he's hitting threes, whether it's 5 of 9, which is great, but 3 of 6, 2 of 5, whatever, hitting multiple threes in a game, it changes an entire dynamic of how a defense has to get ready for him. It changes how a team will approach the team defensively, and it opens up other opportunities for other players to do well. I don't know if this is something that Big Z is going to go to the NBA next year or if he's going to stay another year. I have no clue. I have no idea. But what I do know is that when Arkansas has their best games, especially offensively, a lot of it has to be coming from Big Z. And what I'm hopeful for is that Alabama performance, when they play against LSU coming up, that he is going to build upon that. He's going to have that confidence. Because the last time he played LSU, he played 7 minutes got 0 points. He shot twice, 1-3. Dude wasn't really a factor in it at all. Had 2 personal fouls, and that was about it. So he could be a huge factor. He could be a game changer for Arkansas. But there's a lot of work to do. A lot of things that has to get done before then. But I'm just telling you that seeing what Big Z can do and the approach that he's taking and the confidence he can have, he can be, actually, I'm not even saying he can. He will be the difference in this team making the tournament or not. I know what Adu Thiero is going to get you, and I know how good he is. I know how Nelly Davis and how good he can be. Like, I know those things. But if Big Z's playing his A game, Arkansas is a team that's not going to be able to get stopped very easily. Plain and simple. I want to do a little promotion. Just a little bit. But it's really interesting about the Razor's Edge. Talk about it here in a second, so stay with us on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I had to do this. Last night, folks, in case you didn't see it or see it promoted or anything, there is a documentary follow of John Calipari going on this season. No, it's not Hawks Plus. It's actually a company that is working with Omaha Productions. A lot of you may have heard of Omaha Productions. It's the company, the broadcasting thing that the Mannings, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning have been involved in. This, why they call it Omaha. So dealing with a lot of different sports stuff and documentaries and whatever. And it's really cool to see some of the projects that they've done. And I know they're doing one on Rick Pitino, and they've done a lot of other things. But now that it's been released, I can officially talk about it, I guess, in a little bit, because I did sign a non-disclosure or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm featured in the documentary a couple of times. Like, when I say featured, that's probably the wrong way of putting it. I'm in it. Like, they interview me and talk to me about being a Razorback fan and everything, which was such a cool thing. And, I'm not saying that in a bragging way. I'm saying that because it was like, I don't know, it really made me feel good that they were asked by the people at the university and people who know Razorback sports who would be somebody that could really get a pulse of the fans, and they said me. And that was just a very cool thing, and I appreciate that because I don't ever, I guess, view myself in that way, but I try to be. I try to be that. But still, it was just an honor to be asked to do it. Because it wasn't like they were coming to me for my ball knowledge. I have no idea what that is. I mean, y'all know, you listen to this podcast. You ain't listening to it for me to break down film. Let's be honest. But they put it together, and I got to be a part of it. And it's the first episode came out last night. It's on Vice. A lot of you are asking how to find it. Well, if you go to their website, Vice, you can see how it's on Hulu Live. It's on Sling TV. If you have AT&T Uverse, if you have DirecTV, if you have Dish Network, you can find it on there too. A lot of different ways to watch it. And it's premiering every Monday night at 9 p.m. Central Time on there. But episode 1 was last night, and I'm not going to spoil it. And of course, it's not really spoiling it if you've seen a lot of the scenes. But it's really cool to see the behind the scenes of what all went down with Cal and, during those struggles in the first part of the season and how he approaches it. And I always appreciate that because I've been very critical of the communication, I guess, of the basketball program in general with the media, with the public, a lot of it with Cal, a lot of it with just players, but it's just because we don't get a whole lot. And, that's nothing we can do about it. It's just the way it is. But I always felt like access was getting a lot turned off by Hawks Plus, which I don't have any problem with Hawks Plus. Like, I have friends that work there. Like, I don't, it's not me taking shots at them. It's just, from my perspective, I don't like it where it's a lot where some of the access gets cut off to the traditional media in order to help out, the propaganda machine that's in there, the filtered out, hey, we're only going to show what we want people to know. And so it was cool to see that in that context where you see Cal, not to say that there wasn't editing, because there was, but like Cal with him cussing it up and getting after guys and being very honest and very cool in the way he approaches it. It's just a newfound respect that I can have for Cal. And And how funny it is just to be reliving that journey of when he was hired and still the shock and surprise and awe that came along with it. But if you guys haven't had a chance to watch it, I would strongly recommend the first episode. It's really cool. There's going to be a few episodes. And what's the coolest thing about it, and the thing I cannot wait for, is that they go into Rupp Arena. And they film about the game in Arkansas beating Kentucky. So I can't wait for that episode of when that comes out, because that one's going to be pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's really awesome. So yeah, be sure to check it out if you get a chance, folks. Again, I'm not just saying it because I'm in it for a few seconds. I'm just saying it because I like the fact that we're getting some of that background info, all of that, that's not being filtered through something else or filtered. It's by a third party that is just trying to tell a story, and they did a great job with it. So shout out to Jen and Joel. Like, awesome stuff, and can't wait to see the rest of it. So be sure to check it out on Vice. There's your little promo, okay? Okay. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching in to the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.